Alright guys, welcome back. Survival Living here. So, out here in the greenhouse. I moved my microphone down there because I got to do a lot of new seedlings started here. You know guys, we talked about a little extra income selling garden seedlings, starter gardens, and so far it's been doing very well here. So, we had yesterday, we actually sold 47 plants, and we got different stages of things growing. This is where we've been selling off and had to move some things over there, but we do have to make another round. And I've also been doing our own planting for our garden this weekend as well. So I do want to encourage you guys, one thing, if you can, grow your own food. If you don't have the means, stock up as much as you possibly can. All right, you need to have supplies put back. But I did take a small break. I was inside the house, and I decided to put on the TV series Alone. Well, they got a new one out. It's Australia, I think it is. And the thing about survival show, guys, when I watch it, my wife knows when I'm watching those type of shows because I start screaming at the TV. I'm watching people tap out the second day in the morning. There's just some things, guys, that I want to talk about. All right, so I do a lot of outdoor survival. We actually have our own business teaching people basic survival. I've been through many courses here in America, Mexico, and Canada doing outdoor survival. I lived as a train rider for a year and a half. I survived out of what was in my backpack, my knowledge and skills. So when I speak on this, I come from actual having to do it to survive. One of the things I want to point out in that show, so please bear with me if you don't want to hear this stuff, that's fine, guys. I probably should actually do one of those videos, sit downs and video feed for you guys. I see it all the time in the prepping community. You need to carry photos of loved ones. I don't go out in the field ever with any of that, because when I'm doing survival training and when I have to survive, my mind needs to be there. I watched many of people that have taken photos, family photos, and they'll be sitting there talking about their kids, family, stuff like that during these competitions. And within that day or the next day, they wind up tapping out. Carrying a photo with you, staring at this thing all the time, and you're on the morning of day 2. As soon as I saw it, I said, he's tapping. Sure enough, tapped out. And I bring that up because I have a lot of people sit there and tell me you need to have that in your bug out bag. Personally, been doing it for a long time. When you're in a survival situation, your mind, your body, everything needs to be focused on your surroundings at all time. That's it. You're not worried about things back home. You're not worried about none of that because it takes your mind off the game. And I don't mean game as in, a prize money game. I'm talking about survival. You're not where you need to be at because you're out in the wild now. You got to pay attention to everything. And the key to survival is movement. Movement and watching your calories. I don't mean just sit around and hope something falls in your lap. You have to stay active on things. One of the other things I noticed in that day 1, get a lay of the land. Kind of look at where you dropped off. Try to find a place to camp that night. And then you can work on expanding out, finding a better situation. I was watching people dance around the lakes, the ponds, and the bogs, waiting 45 minutes before the sun goes down before they were even tried to make fire or even a shelter. And then when they made their shelter, they halfway put up a tarp with a flat roof in the location that they're at. They're in Australia, I think it's Tasmania actually. Rains like 200 some days out of the year. So shelter is very important. One of my very first go-to, guys, when I do all my type of training, any type of field work, I find a water source. Water is extremely important. Now you can go 3 days without water. Just depends on the terrain, the environment. Down here in Florida, I wouldn't try to go 3 days without water here in the summertime. That's just waiting to have yourself taken out. But they say you can go 3 days. 3 hours in the elements probably depends on the terrain is most important. I know people are going to say three minutes without air. Well, I'm not planning on holding my breath while I'm there, unless smoke's blowing in my face. So shelter first, water second, fire, get fire going. You got to find these things. I mean, you can have fire to keep your body warm, but if you got shelter, you can hunker down, stay warm. Me personally, in the situations I've been, I've always been able to identify a water source. That was one of the main things. Thought about, I was out in Oregon one time, and it rains a lot in Oregon. I was camped out. I've been out there for about 4 days, and my water supply that I had, because I moved camp locations, was dwindling quick. And I looked and I looked and I looked. I was up in these old logging roads, a lot of woods out there, ain't nothing around, and I could not find a water source. One morning I got up and there was a snake in my camp. Of course, food. Took it out, skinned him out, ate him, and he had an aquatic taste. I've eaten a lot of snakes, and usually people say it tastes like chicken. I don't believe that. They always had a texture of chicken. But if you get hold of a snake and has a aquatic taste, frog, fish, usually there's a water source nearby. So started heading down the ravines, everything, and about 3 hours later, found it. But I was about to try to leave that location I was at again to try to find a water source because I was running out of water. So to me, water is extremely important. I do apologize if my audio drops off every time I turn my head. Like I said, I am trying to get some work done out here. And we've been working on our garden as well. Like I said, we got corn up, got some cucumbers, green beans going. I do need to build a box for lettuce and spinach. Got to make some trestles still. Our peas. One second here. We're going to love this thing. Our peas are trestling. I mean, they're reaching out, testling, whatever. They need to get in the ground soon. Then you get in these containers, and I need to get them planted because these cups are getting way too small for most of the stuff you see here. We did get some of the sunflowers put out, so I'm going to put some in the backyard to help with the pollination and stuff like that. But again, like I said, guys, if you have the opportunity to, hey, like I said, this greenhouse was $100. $100 in material as far as building the foundation for it, the tarp on the ground, the electrical and stuff I mostly had, all right, because I do a lot of solar and stuff, so I usually have electrical everywhere. Grow light, you know, this small grow light was like $100 on Amazon. So I mean, it's up to you on that. It seems to help out a lot when these sprouts start coming up. That's when I start using it. Start growing some stuff. I mean, all this stuff I was able to sell on Marketplace. And yes, I do get to pick out what I'm growing and set aside because that's gonna be our garden as well. I mean, we got Brussels sprouts. We've got a lot of stuff here, guys. I can't even remember. Collards, okra, cantaloupe, eggplant, tomato, lettuce, green bean bush, green bean poles. We got kale, cucumbers. I already said Brussels sprouts, lima beans, kidney beans, lentils, and I've got to get these suckers in the ground too. They are doing good, and these are soda bottles. Now I do have potatoes. I have big containers with potatoes, but I wanted to try something using bottles. And yes, potatoes are actually sprouting in this. Now they can definitely not stay in these things. I want to make sure they're coming up. When it comes to these containers like this, I just take a razor knife, split it, and take the whole thing out, you know, like a giant plug. And I put it in. We got containers for our potatoes and stuff, so that's what we're going to be doing with that. But yeah, coming along good. There are some things that I am working with. One being carrots. I got a little experiment going on over there in the corner there, and our green onions back there. They really need to be in their own trough system, raised bed, or a large container for, especially for carrots. But I want to play around with that, so that's something I got to build. Haven't quite got there yet. Next, water. So in that location that they're at, there's some pop-ups there for you guys. Rains all the time there. Again, washing the shelter builds. I don't know where they got these particular contestants from, but they seem to be lacking in a lot of survival skills. if it rains that much and you have to boil your water, which I do highly recommend boiling your own water, just so you know, guys, you need to boil your water to a rolling boil where it actually, you know, boiling up for 3 minutes to kill off any type of bacteria that's inside the water. Some say 5 minutes, but the temperature it takes for boiling water will kill off anything that's in there within 3 minutes. But, you know, it's already sitting on the fire, so you can leave it on there for as long as you want. It just takes longer to cool off. But their tarp designs that they're using for their shelters, these are huge tarps. You don't need that big of a tarp structure, especially the first couple of nights, because you're sleeping underneath the tarp. Kick that thing out. Make a pool, basically. When it's raining, that's fresh drinking water right there. As far as debris from the trees and stuff like that, well, I'm not going to say it's not going to hurt you, because there are some poisonous plants out there. But as far as debris, your t-shirt, put it over your container. I do it all the time out in the field. It works great. So there's always ways of doing this. It's just, when I watch these shows, I get so ticked off. You know, when I'm out there, I have a MIRA knife. All right, it's maybe 6-inch blade, I think, maybe 5.5. Carbon steel. That way I can hit flint and everything else off of it. I'm watching. This woman pulls out this blade. It's like that freaking long. She's trying to sharpen a stick. First thing popped in my mind was, "What's up, Rambo?" Yeah. So just, some gear might look cool, but it's not practical. Any gear that you take out to the field, you need to be testing, especially in a survival situation like that. Yeah, they can call somebody out to come get them. Don't take untested gear. Don't take cool gear that's, you know, really not practical. I mean, really, you got an axe, you got a knife, you got a saw. There's no sense in having a big old pig sticker with you. It really isn't. And again, the location, like I said, they were all dancing. Well, that one was dancing around the lake and everything, the river. First time when I saw it, they were getting off the boat and they were sinking on the ground. I mean, all the way back. You can tell there's definitely a tidal thing going on there. And the ground saturated, and it's got greenery all over it, but you look at all the trees and stuff around it, they're all dead. It's a flood area. These people are trying to camp right there at it, and they're walking and stomping around this muddy stuff. It's a bog, and they're sitting there filming. You hear trees come crashing down, and they're freaking out about it. You're trying to camp out in a bog. It's swampland. It's not, the roots are not going to hold. So be mindful of that. I had a tree come down on my stuff on a camp down here in Florida. You always hear people, widowmakers this, widowmakers that. Well, that wasn't a widowmaker. A widowmaker is a dead tree standing up or leaning down on something, wind blow and knock it over. Situation that I dealt with is that a massive thunderstorm came up. It rained a lot and high winds picked up. It pulled the roots out of the ground. It wasn't a widowmaker. It took down a tree. So yeah, be mindful of your surroundings, absolutely. But when you're sitting there staring at photos and constantly reminiscing, I wonder what my kids are doing, I wonder what my wife is doing, you need to be focusing on that. So when I see the comments where people say they refuse to bug out, if your mindset is not to be out there to actually be surviving, yeah, I kind of recommend don't do it. Me, I like to keep the backup plan and have plans to bug out when necessary. But if you're going to be one of those individuals that want to carry the photos and reminisce and think about everything else except for the situation that you're in, I'm not going to say it's a death sentence, but I'm going to say might not be the correct option. All right, guys, appreciate you hanging out with me. Just a little bit of tidbit information. Myself, I've been dealing with a nasty respiratory thing for like 2 weeks now. Thank God the large majority of it is gone, and I'm hoping this coming weekend we'll take the video equipment out and I'll be able to do a 2-day let's see here, I leave on a Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday afternoon, come back home, so I gotta be at work on Monday morning at 4. So yeah, a few days out in the bush again, do some survival videos. I've been wanting to do it for a while, but we've been having snow here in Florida. We've been having all kind of stupid stuff, and now with my job at the shipyard where I'm at, I work Monday through Thursdays, and Fridays we actually get half days off there. That's freaking awesome. I actually get off at noon on a Friday and have all day Saturday and Sunday. So yeah, I need to get back out in the bush. All right, guys. Speak to y'all later.